So it's day 5, and this is the latest I've waited to make a video. It's into the evening now, and yeah, today was challenging, I would say, overall, and a couple notable things that I learned today and explored today. One was I had an experience of answering questions about being heart-centered in my dream last night. I was on the phone, and on the other end of the phone was my mother and I think my sister-in-law, and they were asking me what does it mean to be a heart-centered person. And the question was related around, if you're a heart-centered person, does that mean you always have to do everything for everybody? Are you always saying yes? And in the dream, I think my answer was something to the effect of, it's actually the opposite. That the more we're following our heart and being true to ourselves, I'm imagining that more often than not, we're actually going to say no. We're actually going to empower our no, and that's going to be more often. We're going to not do things that are out of alignment for us personally. And as we strengthen our no, we're actually empowering our yes. Our yes becomes so much more powerful when we activate a strong no, in terms of us honoring what our heart is calling forward for us. So it was just kind of cool to have it show up in my dream. You know, this has been something that's really present for me in my life right now, and so, you know, to have it show up in a dream and to have kind of what felt like a sort of profound answer. You know, my subconscious gave a beautiful, profound answer, and I paraphrased it. It's not as good now, but I remember the feeling that I was getting kind of as the spectator of the dream, thinking, yeah, yeah, that's good. So also, as I go down this path, I meet a lot of other people and communicate with a lot of the people that are talking about being overthinkers and seemingly being on the same path in terms of coming out of their heads and the kind of the hamster wheel, so to speak, of their thoughts, and coming back down into their bodies and into their hearts. And it's just interesting to hear that different people are having that same experience, and it's been a wonderful joy to share some of the meditations and some of the practices that I learned through my training to actually, you know, help them in their process. But it was really nice to hear that, and one of those friends was here for a tea date this morning, and we were drinking tea and talking about all this, and he was sharing some of his perspectives and some of his challenges, and through the lens of his spirituality, and how he's in this place where recognizing that he is, you know, his ego in terms of who he identifies as, you know, in this life, is the one that has the frailties and has the overactive mind. But when he can get into his bigger self, you know, the God self, or the capital S self, so to speak, he can relinquish some of that. He can let go of those fears, concerns, doubts, the things that just like are constantly running in his head. So it was really interesting to hear that perspective from a spiritual standpoint more. I had some challenges with my beloved today, and definitely got to see a place where I close my heart up and I get defensive and I back up and I'm guarded, and just it was amazing how now that I've been really in this process and really spending time exploring this so directly, it was so palpable. I could feel myself close. I was literally like, when we were in the discussion that was really challenging, I could feel my shoulders rolled in and this energetic kind of protection over my heart. And as we started to come back to a place of sweetness and openness, I could feel myself open back up. And my way of being was just so different too. My way of being when my heart is open is sweet and it's present and it's available. And when I'm closing that down, I'm guarded, I'm stern, and not like in a healthy stern way. It's more just like I'm like emotionless, heartless. That's fun. When I close my heart, I feel heartless. That's the best way to put it. And I was feeling that a lot today in that context. So something I'm really taking away from that is just the more I'm in my heart, the more I'm exploring my own capacities and expansion of heart, the more I'm aware when I'm closing that down, and I'm aware of how much that harms my relationships and opportunities for growth and kind of the perseverance. You know, we're going to always have challenges in our relationships, and shutting down and closing my heart doesn't leave room for us to actually go into the challenge and create a new experience and to heal and grow from that. Instead, it creates separation, and it basically leaves us having to come back to it at another time because I'm not available to actually do the work. I'm only fending off the situation until it's over, right? So yeah, just really recognizing as I'm doing this work how much more work is needed for me to really dip down into that place and be able to stay fully heart opened even in the face of challenges and conflict and disturbances in the force, so to speak, between me and my beloved. Yeah, ultimately I would say that this has been one of the harder days of this process. And, you know, looking at the other side of it, looking at the other side of the heart closing and that process of staying open, that's a lot more challenging than the elation and the joy and the childlike play that comes at kind of the topper, you know, like kind of the upper layers of heart-centeredness, you know, dipping further down and really venturing further into this process and honoring when I'm failing or falling short of the process. That's hard. That feels hard. So yeah, today's been challenging, and yet amazingly rewarding as usual. This is still by far the place that I'd rather be, and I'd rather be exploring than anything else right now. So we'll see what's new tomorrow.